Hey, welcome. We're constantly hearing these buzzwords thrown around. ESG, sustainability, corporate impact. It's a lot of noise. So how do we actually tell what's just good marketing and what's, well, real? Today we're going to dig into just that. How to measure what truly matters.
Right? It really is the million-dollar question. I mean, you see it everywhere. Companies making these huge, bold promises about changing the world, and that's great. But promises are one thing. The real trick, and what we're tackling today, is figuring out how to check the receipts. How do you actually prove that all those actions are leading to real, positive change?
So where do we even begin to move past those promises? Well, it all starts with a plan. You can't just start counting things at random and cross your fingers. No, you need a blueprint. This is absolutely the most critical first step if you want to turn good intentions into results that you can actually prove.
And this is a perfect way to think about it. It really is like starting a fitness journey. You wouldn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to get healthy, would you? Of course not. You'd set a goal, like, am I running a 5K or lifting weights? You'd pick your exercises and you'd track how you're doing. It's exactly the same idea here. That clear goal is what separates wishful thinking from a real workable strategy.
Okay, so this foundational process really boils down to three key things. First up, you have to set a crystal clear objective. Like, who are you doing this for? Is it for investors, or is it to make your own company better? Second, you've got to define your impact areas. Are you focusing on the environment, social issues, or maybe governance, which is all about how the company is actually run? And third, you need a rule book, a framework to keep you on the right path.
Now, the great news is companies don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are already these well-established frameworks out there that basically act as guidebooks. You've got some like the Global Reporting Initiative, or GRI, which are pretty broad and help with general reporting. Then you have others that are super focused, like the TCFD, which zeroes in on climate-related financial risks. It's kind of like picking the right workout plan for your specific fitness goal.
All right, so we've got our blueprint. Now comes the really cool part. This is where the magic happens, where we take those big, ambitious goals and start turning them into actual, concrete numbers.
And the magic wand for this transformation? It's the KPI, or Key Performance Indicator. You've probably heard the saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Well, that's exactly what KPIs are for. They're the specific, measurable signposts that tell you if you're actually making progress or just running in place.
And check this out. This slide makes it so incredibly clear. An environmental goal stops being this vague idea of let's be greener and becomes reduce carbon emissions, measured specifically in tons. A social goal isn't just be a good place to work. It's generate X number of new jobs. See? This is how you take something abstract like impact and make it real, something you can actually point to.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a critical catch. Those numbers are only as good as the data you're feeding them. This whole process hinges on having data that's reliable, that's collected consistently, and that's rigorously validated a lot of times by an outside expert. If you don't have all three of those, then even the prettiest chart in the world is honestly pretty meaningless.
Okay, we've talked a lot about data and numbers, but now let's kind of zoom out for a second. Because behind every single one of those data points, every chart, every report, there are people. And the real ultimate test of any impact is whether or not it's actually felt by them.
And when we say people, we're talking about a really wide net. We're talking about the employees whose health and happiness are on the line. We're talking about customers who are increasingly voting with their wallets. We're talking about the communities that live right next door to a company's operations. And you better believe investors and regulators are watching all of this like hawks too. Each one of these groups feels a company's impact in a totally different way.
This quote, wow, it just says everything, doesn't it? Measurement is meaningless if it's not improving lives. You can have the most detailed, beautifully designed report ever made, but if it doesn't lead to better working conditions or a healthier planet or stronger communities, then what was the point? The real bottom line here is the human and environmental outcome.
Okay, so let's tie all of these threads together. This whole rigorous process, the planning, the measuring, the checking your work, it's not just some corporate box-ticking exercise. It's actually a strategic engine for creating real, lasting value.
And this slide shows the payoff perfectly. Yeah, sure. In the short term, you might get some quick wins, like a lower energy bill or happier employees. That's great. But the long game? That's about building something so much bigger. We're talking about an incredible brand reputation, deep trust from investors, and a business that's truly built to last, one that can weather the storms.
And this impact doesn't just happen in a bubble.
When companies align their work with global standards like the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, which are basically a shared blueprint for a better world, they're showing they're part of a much bigger team effort. They can actually contribute to solving massive global challenges, from climate action to ensuring decent work for everyone.
So, if there's one crucial thing to take away from all this, it's that this is a living, breathing process. It's a continuous loop. You measure, you report on what you found, and then, this is the most important part, you use that knowledge to get better. And then you start the cycle all over again. It's all about constant improvement, not creating some dusty report that just sits on a shelf.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. Now that we understand the blueprint for measuring real impact, the power is really in our hands, as consumers, as employees, as investors, to start demanding this kind of transparency and accountability. So the real question becomes, how are we going to use this knowledge to help build that better, measurable tomorrow? Thanks so much for joining me.